Hello everyone, welcome to the Social Club. Arsene Wenger has been in charge at the Gunners for 20 years. Everyone's talking about it, so we thought we would as well, especially considering that Robbie is back in Social Club action. Rob, 20 years of Arsene Wenger, no matter which way you slice him, whether you fall down on whether he should still be the manager or what will happen in the years to come, that's an incredible feat, particularly at the top level of English football.
Incredible achievement, and you've got to remember that. Listen, I know that the last 10's been really difficult for him, but he came in, won the double in the first year he came in. He's won trophies over the years, and he's always kept Arsenal at the top. We've always been minimum in the top four, and I think that's just a fantastic achievement. So he's a great manager, definitely. I think Arsenal's greatest manager of all time, without a doubt. And it doesn't surprise me that England are interested in him, coming in as a new manager. And
do you think he'll go?
I don't know. You know what? It all depends what happens this season, I think. And then I think to myself, Arsene Wenger's a very intelligent guy, right? And he's had a lot of grief over the past couple of years off of Arsenal fans. Why times that by 10, right? And then go and take over the England job where you haven't just got fans to contend with, you've got people, fake sheikhs and all stuff like that. Why do that? He could go, I think if he left Arsenal, he could get a job at PSG, he could get a job possibly Real Madrid. I think those sort of clubs would still have him.
There was a lot of talk of PSG, wasn't there?
I think those clubs would still have him. So, I think he'd be crazy to take the England job, to be honest.
It's a poison chalice.
Yeah. So, but he's been a great manager. I mean, some of the things he's had to negotiate in like the last 10 years, like Arsenal moving to the new stadium was a big thing, right? We didn't have the money. It's obvious. The last 3 years, I'd say money has been available, but before that, we didn't have the money. We had to let go, like year on year out, our best players, Van Persie, Nasri, Cesc Fabregas. It was a really difficult time. And you can see now with West Ham, moving into a new stadium, which they ain't even had to pay for, how they're struggling. Yeah. And he had to negotiate moving into a new stadium that we did have to pay for. And the funds had to go towards that.
The fact that, and this is the thing for me about Arsene Wenger, you say the last 10 years have been tricky. The last 10 years for Liverpool have been tricky. At the end, you have maintained that top four berth, and we joke. It's become a joke, hasn't it, Baz, that Arsenal's top four trophy. But God, I'd have loved just consistent Champions League football at times over that last decade. I'm sure. I think it goes without saying that Everton would have the same. Wenger gets a lot of criticism, but where do you stand on it?
First of all, I just think he's a jinx for us, because since he's come in, we haven't done anything. We literally haven't done a thing. He's been amazing. I mean, looking on the outside, the way he's transformed that club. Because when he took over at Arsenal, they were in a similar position to Everton in terms of they've won trophies and stuff like that, but they were just bouncing around, weren't they? He come in, Rioch was there at the time, and he came in and he just elevated them onto a whole new level. He took the club forward, they played it incredible. They had the what they called, the Invincibles, whatever. They were
what were they called? As if he didn't know.
I wanted Robbie to say it.
As if he'd never seen it.
I want Robbie to say it. I'm trying to forget it. They played an unbelievable brand of football, exciting players, stadium moving. The club has just gone on to a different level, global and everything else. So for him to do that, to deliver 19 consecutive years of Champions League football, it'll probably be 20 this year, because that's what they do. It's an incredible amount, incredible feat.
What do you reckon? Because you've been in that period, you've been pretty spoiled as a United fan. So I guess that you probably don't look at Wenger in the same light, because let's face it, you wouldn't have swapped Alex Ferguson in a million years.
Obviously, swapped LVG for him.
Absolutely, in a heartbeat. But being honest, as much as I hate Wenger, you can't look past his accomplishments, can you? Effectively, I mean, back in the day, whenever he took over at Arsenal, footballers were still out eating chip buddies on a Friday night and boozing in the pub until 2 o'clock in the morning, day before a match. And Wenger kind of stopped it all, didn't he? I mean, publicly stopped it all. I don't mean behind the scenes. He basically told people, sit down, this is what we're going to do. Bring in dietitians. This is the kind of work we're going to do. I think he was the first manager to actually include the youth squad in the first team training, wasn't he? It was the first manager to do that. I mean, his accomplishments speak for themselves. The one thing that I do think in 20 years of football, if you've been at a club like Arsenal, you've had money to spend and whatnot, albeit maybe not for like the last 7 years or whatever, but he hasn't won a Champions League. Yeah, that's one thing that's really escaped him, but the rest of it kind of speaks for
I
itself.
think that's it. I think that's going to be the big blot. If anything, Rob, is and that's where I guess all the laughing and the jokes and that does come up when we talk about Arsenal from outside, is that be in the Champions League every year, but to get to one Champions League final in that time's not enough for a club of that size.
I was there, and it was terrible when we lost it, and a game that we should really have won.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, there's several things that are going to be a blot on. I mean, not winning the league in the last 10 years is a blot. And
last year was really your chance.
there's been, you know what? Not even last year. There's been some other occasions throughout that period that I really felt we could have won it. And if he'd only have gone out in, say, January and spent some money and bought in a couple of players, we could have won those. And he didn't. And
The Gallas
I think
here, Birmingham City.
the Gallas thing, his stubbornness sometimes does really wind you up. You know what I mean? You'd be like, oh, surely you realise we need to buy this player. And he just, like last season when he didn't buy a striker. And I think that's what cost us winning the league. So it can be very, very frustrating. But I think it's going to be a bit like, when you've had a good woman or something and you've taken her for granted. And then when she's gone, then you start to realise, say, oh, hold on, she used to iron my clothes. No. Yeah. Oh, my clothes are all creased up now. Oh,
This is what's happened over the last 8 weeks.
The magic floor in my bedroom stopped working. The clothes just keep piling up.
Yeah, and that's what it's going to be like. It's going to be like, Arsenal fans will be like, hold on. No Champions League football. What, we're playing on the Thursday night? What's going on?
Yeah. The thing I would say about the blot on him is there's a fella lost his job today who's won a Champions League. Lost his job at Aston Villa, and I don't think you'd swap Arsene Wenger for him.
No, that's a good point. That's
true,
right,
true.
And that's the Champions League thing. Of course, you look and think a club of Arsenal being in it that often.
I think you said it right. I think one of the things what I've liked about Wenger is that he is a classy guy, right? He's always conducted himself, I think, with class, and
almost arrogance though at times. Class, yes, but
he doesn't
it's
see a lot of
borderline
things,
arrogant. Like,
to be fair,
it is.
He's just dropping it in because I mentioned class, and now he's got Mourinho now, so he's. But
Mourinho was beyond arrogant.
Well, the Mourinho thing's an interesting one, isn't that?
But I'm just saying, he's always been a classy guy, hasn't he? He's a real football guy.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal is a club that really respected in the world of football, and I think a lot of that is because of Wenger. Listen, we've always been a mega club, but I think
it's
Wenger
attention to detail, really. It's
almost like a statesman within football. Now, that what you were saying about diets and that is so true. Some of the old players, some of those old players like Tony Adams, Keown, they said, this guy prolonged their career.
Well, it was Tony Adams, because Ray Parler's been doing a lot recently, hasn't he, in his book, and he said, like, Tony Adams had a bit of an epiphany in life around that period anyway, because he was a big boozer, wasn't he? And and Wenger coming in was a positive influence at that time of his life, where he kind of sat down and went, basically, lads, I'm not doing it anymore, and I think everyone else should follow my lead on it. And, you look at that was the culture, because you see when you read all the Liverpool stuff from the 80s and 90s, they all were on the ale, they were all massive piss heads. And that crossover period, to be able to survive that crossover period and take into the modern game. The thing that winds up is the obvious thing that people remember Wenger in recent years is Mourinho coming out and doing this specialist in failure stuff.
That was out of order.
But I think, exactly.
Mourinho, though, isn't it? It's always going to be an arrogant
But Mourinho, and look, you can't argue, because Mourinho's record in that 10 years when Wenger's hasn't, he's not been prolific with silverware. Mourinho's a new school of manager in that. But, Jose Mourinho still hasn't proved that he can hold the job down for more than 3 years or whatever. I think, he does it because I think deep down there's a jealousy there, and he'd love to be able to have that time and opportunity.
Another thing I love about Arsene Wenger, as you mentioned Mourinho, it's a thing that Mourinho doesn't really do, but Wenger always did. Fergie used to do it as well, and that's bring through young players, right? It's very difficult, I know, to bring through young players, and nowadays we all want to win every game, we don't want to give it. But Wenger has continually, throughout the years, always brought through some young players. Iwobi at the moment, who's brought through. He's Hector Bellerin in the team at the moment.
I don't mean disrespectfully, but half the time, the past 10 years, he hasn't had a choice because he hasn't bought anyone.
No, but throughout, he's known for that. Throughout, he's
as well.
And even over the last couple of years, he's been buying. There's been more money available, but he's still bought through Iwobi. Iwobi now is like one of the mainstays of the team.
When you get Arsenal in the League Cup, and you'd be like, you go, oh, well, these are the players that we're going to be playing in the Premier League next season or the season after, because you'd have that squad. Then you'd see all these kids and be like, wow, like that left back production cycle that you had for about 10 years, where you'd have one, you'd build them up, he'd become class, you'd sell him, and then there'd be another lad just ready to step through. Exactly.
Gibbs. So, you know, I like the fact that he, well, maybe. I like the fact that he's always brought through youngsters. He's always spotted like some sort of unknown guys that nobody really know much about, and then they become really good players, like Koscielny and people like that now.
Anelka.
You know, Anelka, that was, you know, so you know, if he does decide to hang it up at the end of the season,
who was only 19,
it's going to be really sad.
And turned them into.
And the other thing is, if he does go, I worry a bit, because I just look at Man United, and I think to myself, how long is it now? Fergie's gone now. What,
4 years.
4 years, and they're still trying to find.
Yeah.
That's how you see how
nearly
difficult
£500 million £500.
Well, it's exactly.
Yeah.
There's
so hard.
You're going to have to face up to the rebound situation, aren't you? And that's the big question with Wenger, is that are the guys who would have been the natural fit, has that window gone? You know, Pep's moved.
I think, you know,
Klopp's moved.
Klopp, you know.
They have to go and change the face of it and go for Simeone.
I would say Simeone,
I like this guy.
Actually,
I like this geezer Tuchel at the moment over in Dortmund. Is impressing me a lot. Maybe somebody
they watched
like
Dortmund game at the weekend though. They beat my bet actually. I don't even want to talk about that, but they beat my bet.
He's good.
And Leverkusen destroyed them.
Yeah.
They did. They didn't have a plan B.
The thing that was mostly interesting for me, I had a quick look, because I never really thought about what Wenger's won, because it is very easy to focus on the recent in football. And I look at that 20-year spell he's won 3 league titles, 6 FA Cups, and 6 charity shields. There's no one worries about the charity shields as such. But when you consider in that 20-year period, and I know it's because he's been there for so long, but I don't think you can discount that. No one else in English football comes close to that in that time frame. You know, Chelsea have won titles in that time, and of course, with the exception of Alex Ferguson, who obviously who dominated. But there's no disrespect to be beneath a Ferguson who when Man United were all powerful in that era, and I think that's one of the things. It's not.
I think the
last 10 years tainted a little bit, but.
I think the one thing that Fergie did that maybe Wenger didn't do, I don't know if it's because of money constraints, but Fergie always seems to be able to sort of reinvent himself a bit more by maybe even bringing in an assistant, a different assistant.
Ferguson rebuilt the team as one team was going out. He had another one.
Fergie wouldn't be scared, for instance, like to bring in an old player if he needed that player, like a Van der Sar. Whereas Wenger sticks so much to his principles sometimes.
It's felt like he's had a way of playing, and it's like he's spent the last 20 years trying to perfect this style, and he obviously had the Invincibles period, and like he's trying to recapture it, but it's always felt like he's never adapted. He's always been a couple of players away from it. Just like Arsenal in the perfect goal. Like it's expected that one day, it breaks down, and it breaks down on that last kick, that one pass too far, and you think, if that goes in, my God, if that clicks, they'll be absolutely unbelievable. And I think that's where he's fallen down, that he knows that when that clicks, but it's not clicked enough.
His career was that at the start, it was literally incredible. And then it's gone the other way, and he hasn't been able to match how good he started. Whereas if it would have started and got better, resulting in the Invincibles and that way of playing, he'd have been lauded like Alex, he'd have been like, he's one of the best coaches ever.
When you consider that period of time, when you had the Invincibles, it was Man United and Arsenal were the 2 top teams in the Premier League at that time. Liverpool couldn't maintain it, consistently season on season. We'd have a couple of good teams, but we build up, we get to around second, and then we fall off a cliff. You know, Chelsea came out of nowhere late in the mid-noughties when they finally got the money and started to build up. So again, to consider that happened in the first 10 years, there wasn't a great deal of competition. You could say, well, that shows he's not at top level, but I would still contend that being able to stay in contention for that top 4, particularly when I've seen us struggle to actually get in it more than a season on, season off. What's happened to United in recent years?
And like you said, some of the money that some of the teams, even Spurs. You know, people
Spurs are like
talk about Spurs at the moment like they've just developed. They've spent much more money
over the last 20 years since Wenger's been there.
You know, and they have never ever finished above Arsene Wenger.
Last year was ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tottenham are going for the league with 3 games
Talk
to
about
go,
falling
and
apart.
Arsenal finished above them.
Talk about falling apart.
So,
Unbelievable. That had happened to Everton.
future then, you know, we've seen the past. We're looking at the present. Things looking good for Arsenal so far this season. He's addressed a lot of the issues that he's had for years in that squad. You know, would this be the last? If you had the choice, would this be the last season? Even if it goes well.
I don't know. To me, my personal opinion, if it went well this season and he won a league and he wanted to extend, I wouldn't be against it. I know there are some fans who are like, nah, even if you won the league, you should go now and let someone else
Buy
come
out
in.
gracefully.
But
Do you think he's left a big enough
me
legacy?
personally, right? I think, you know, if he won a league, he should then be allowed to say, well, either I'm going to step down or I'll do another couple of years. You know, but I really, really would love to see him win something this season, substantial, because, you know, I don't know. I've got a decent feeling about the team this year. I don't know I'm still not sure if it's good enough to win the league, and there are so many good teams around at the moment. So it's going to be really tight. But I see decent feeling about the mentality of this team. It looks a different type of mentality, and he's got better players than what he's had in the past couple of years. I mean, I remember when Francis Coquelin got injured last year, he was a vital player for us. You know, it was Flamini or Arteta we were bringing on. This year, we got guys like Granit Xhaka or El Neni, better players that we can bring in to fill that. So let's see how it goes, you know, but hopefully he can go out on a high, you know?
Hopefully not.
I think if the,
For all the Wenger loving, I still hope it goes badly tits up this season. He goes to England, it goes badly tits up there. No.
I think if he won the league, I think
I think that would be.
I think it'd be like Ferguson.
Ferguson
I
did,
think
yeah.
he'd go, I'm done.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
think that would be the right thing to given how much it's done. But you know, we'll see in the fullness of time. Let us know your thoughts on the
Win the
Arsene
league
Wenger
first
thing.
and then you do.
Yeah, worry about
Make your
that.
mind up.
Worry
Yeah, worry
that
about it after.
Yeah. Don't be planning your retirement party just yet. At least from Robbie's perspective. Yeah, let us know your thoughts on the Arsene Wenger thing. You know, where do you stand on that? I guess there'll probably be a lot of a younger generation. I guess if you're in your teens or your early 20s, you're more inclined to remember the last 10 years where Arsenal haven't been the dominant force in the league. But a bit older, you will have that opinion. Interesting in what you make of Arsene Wenger and whether he should stay with Arsenal, whether they win a league title or not, and should he go to England as well? Is that a decent option? Right, that ends Social Club for this week, but we've got an amazing tournament coming up across the Ball Street channel. It's called the UFG. It's the Ultimate Football Gaming Championship. It's PES 2017, it's FIFA 17, it's some of the biggest voices from Fan Channel, the world of that thing, basically me, and 442s and a whole host of others as well. It should be interesting. The trailer's here. You can click the trailer, find out what it's all about and watch the videos when they come out next week.